Susanna Dickinson, A Survivor's Story. February 1836. We migrated to Texas and settled in the township of San Antonio. My dear husband, Alamarin, who recently joined a band of volunteer soldiers, survived another conflict with Mexican forces. Our men have vowed not to concede until our independence is won. We Texans must fight for what we desire, freedom from the tyrannical Mexican government. I gave Alamarin my loyal support. I promise to protect our 2-year-old daughter, Angelina, regardless of what lies ahead. Alamarin and the troops succeeded in forcing the Mexican soldiers across the border and out of Texas. We received word that Mexican President Antonio Lopez de Santa Anna is attempting to reclaim the province of Texas. I have lain awake at night wondering what price we will pay for our independence. I felt the earth vibrate under my feet and peered out the south window. My greatest fears were realized. Like bees, thousands of Mexican soldiers swarmed the dusty plain. They approached quickly. Alamarin hurried us toward the Alamo. He said we will be safe inside its walls. Gathering small stores of food, I embraced Angelina tightly in my arms and rushed to the relative safety of the mission. Soon we were inside the mission with a few hundred defenders. Alamarin was appointed to the artillery of 21 cannons under the orders of his lieutenant, William B. Travis. Several defenders brought their families to the mission for safety. The women and children sought shelter in the church sacristy, the small room where our priest normally prepares for the weekly sermon. A week has passed with little activity. We do not know how long this standoff with Santa Anna and his army will continue. The defenders herded many head of cattle into the Alamo and stored some bushels of corn for food, but our supplies are beginning to diminish. Alamarin has occasionally tended to Angelina and me, bringing updated news from beyond our secure location. By Alamarin's reports, I fear we are greatly outnumbered as there appears to be thousands of Mexican soldiers surrounding the Alamo walls. Today, Lieutenant Travis sent a letter to be delivered by courier to the Texian government requesting aid and munitions. Commandancy of the Alamo. Bear, February 24th, 1836. To the people of Texas and all Americans in the world, fellow citizens and compatriots, I am besieged by 1,000 or more of the Mexicans under Santa Anna. I have sustained a continual bombardment and cannonade for 24 hours and have not lost a man. The enemy has demanded a surrender at discretion. Otherwise, the garrison are to be put to the sword. If the fort is taken, I have answered the demand with a cannon shot, and our flag still waves proudly from the walls. I shall never surrender or retreat. Then I call on you in the name of liberty, of patriotism, and everything dear to the American character, to come to our aid with all dispatch. The enemy is receiving reinforcements daily and will no doubt increase to 3,000 or 4,000 in 4 or 5 days. If this call is neglected, I am determined to sustain myself as long as possible and die like a soldier who never forgets what is due to his own honor and of his country, victory or death. William Barrett Travis, Lieutenant Colonel Commandant. P.S. The Lord is on our side. When the enemy appeared in sight, we had not 3 bushels of corn. We have since found in deserted houses 80 or 90 bushels and got into the walls 20 or 30 head of beeves. Travis. March 1836. It is the evening of March 5th, and for 12 days our men have been out on constant watch. I expect they are beginning to grow weary, as no additional soldiers have arrived. I urged Alamarin to rest. At daybreak, we awakened to the staccato of gunfire. The Mexican forces had breached the outer wall of the courtyard. I covered Angelina's ears as the horrendous cannons rang out. She wailed in alarm, and I tried desperately to silence her cries. My heart rapidly pounded from fear, but I remained as still as stone. Alamarin momentarily left his post to risk a final goodbye. He shouted above the cacophony of artillery fire. "Great God, Sioux! The Mexicans are inside our walls. All is lost. If they spare you, save my child." He quickly kissed my cheek and returned to man his cannon. The sounds of the battle created a thunderstorm in my ears. As the sun rose, the battle sound ceased, and I feared I would never see Alamarin again. Those of us in the church sacristy were frozen with fear, hoping to avoid detection. A small group of soldiers burst through the door, raining wood fragments upon us. We were instructed to stand and form a line against the chapel wall. No Texian defender came to our rescue. We understood why when a Mexican officer told us that our men were all dead. He said the last to be killed was the artillery captain. I realized he was speaking of my dear Alamarin. We were evacuated from the Alamo. Despite the loss of soldiers, no woman or child was harmed. We walked reverently around the bodies of our loved ones as we were led to a nearby house. Each survivor was interviewed by President Santa Anna. When I went before the Mexican leader, he looked kindly upon Angelina and offered to adopt, care for, and educate her. I knew Alamarin would not approve of such, so I refused. The women and children were released and given $2, a blanket, and strict instructions to deliver Santa Anna's message. The Mexican army will not be defeated. Poem, Texan Song of Liberty by C.D. Stewart. The storm of the battle no longer is o'er us. Freedom to Texas with glory descends. The flag of our triumph waves brightly before us, and conquest her splendor to liberty lends. Husa, from our limbs the last fetter has crumbled, and Mexico's pride is in the dust has been humbled. A shout from the banks of Jacinto's bright waters goes up with the roar of the storm and the blast. The voice of her sons and the sons of her daughters over tyranny's chains that are riven at last. Husa, nevermore will our lone stars surrender, while a true Texan heart is left to defend her. The heroes who lie on the red field of battle speak loud through their body, and the triumph proclaim, and their slumber more potent than cannon's fierce rattle bids Texas remembers her dead and her fame. Their silence is tongued with Husa for the river whence backward the foeman was driven forever. And lo, from bare stained turf is awakening a sound from the bones of the brave who were slain, a sound like the voice of the thunder peal breaking, defying the tyrant to trample again. Where Mexico's banner, all trailing and gory, but marks the bright pathway of Texas to glory. Then bright be the star, and undimmed be its splendor, that links her free name to the love of the world. And long as our spirit is left to defend her, let freedom's broad banner be nobly unfurled. While the lips of her brave and her beautiful thunder, no tyrant shall trample our liberty under. Galveston, 1844.